Basically, we were listening to the output of this effects rack only, which is being fed a signal from my main Rivera M100 guitar amp, which at that moment we weren't listening to at all. It was only the feed from there into this rack and its output that we were listening to. Of course, I played some stuff, but let me show you how this works a little bit. I'm taking advantage of very long delay lines in order to basically have kind of instant interactive recording sessions with myself. There are quite a few players who do this. Robert Fripp, Terry Riley has played a lot with tape loop type effects. Brian Eno, obviously, The Edge. I believe that John Leventhal uses techniques like this to some degree. Matt Henderson. There are quite a few people. Henry Kaiser. I could go on and on. I've been doing it for a while myself, and I'll explain all the way through. The signal comes from the back of my guitar amp, this Rivera M100, and feeds a mixer, which is the top piece right here. It feeds this channel, which is very poorly marked, channel number 8, and the channel is actually off. Each of the channels in this mixer has a send, an effect send, 2 effect sends, in fact, that are before the actual channel fader. So you can send the signal to 2 separate effects lines, 2 paths, and you can refer to a chart in your little book now to see the signal path in the back of the amp. Basically, you can send the signal to these 2 different effects paths, and then I return these effects paths on other channel faders so that I can send them as well to other effects. Now, the way this works is signal comes into the back of the mixer into this channel. Channel is a channel that I don't really listen to. It sends a signal on send number 1 into this Lexicon PCM42 delay line, which was, up until very recently, a standardly available delay line, very nice sounding, that you could modify to have up to, well, quite a bit of delay time. Mine is set up to have 20 seconds of delay time, or 19.x amount of seconds. So the signal comes send 1 into this delay line. This delay line output is coming up here, dry, and I'm going to let you hear this right now. I'm going to bring it down to a 3-second delay with some regeneration, which is the delay is recycling and recycling. You won't hear any dry signal, just the delay, and I'm going to play a couple of A's. I have to turn the other things off first. Here we go. This is it. You don't hear that original note. I'm going to randomly play an E, G sharp, a B natural, little slide. I'll play the A again. Now I'm going to play a low A. I bent it. There it is. Kind of funny sounding. Okay, so now I'm going to get rid of that so we don't hear it. That's the dry signal right there for the delay line. Now, that delay line is not only coming up there dry, all on its own with no other processes on it, but it also feeds directly this PCM70, which is a fairly sophisticated reverb unit, and therefore I can take the delays that are coming out of this PCM42 and process them in a way that makes them richer, wider in stereo. I'll show you some things. First, I'll play it through a simple but very beautiful. It's the same delay, feeding only this Lexicon PCM70 reverb. Now I'm going to, just so you have an idea of how this might work, I'm going to make the reverb time extremely long. Here it is. Whoops. I made a mistake, and that wasn't a reverb. It was actually delay lines, feeding delay lines. Very long reverb. Now the reverb will get shorter. I'm really going to confuse you for a minute because you'll notice that I'm going to make the reverb time longer. And I'm not doing anything with my hands. And shorter. Okay. And that is because I am controlling the PCM70 and certain parameters of reverb that it contains within it, programmable parameters, via MIDI. And that works like this. There is a MIDI input jack on this Lexicon PCM70. This little Yamaha MCS2, I can't remember what it was meant to do. Everything it does is it puts out MIDI messages. These are musical instrument digital interface messages that tell this PCM70, in this particular case, it will tell it to make the reverb very, very long. It's doing a couple of other things as well. And there are a couple of other parameters that any of the parameters in the PCM70 can be controlled via MIDI. This is one of the things that I do with processing my loops, is be able to keep the things animated. This, by the way, is a loop, this thing that I have now locked into the original delays that I put into the Lexicon PCM42, these 3-second delays, obvious on the screen. There's a little tiny little sign on there that's got an infinite marking on it. And I control that here. If I push this little pedal right here with the infinite mark on it, that little light goes off, and now this delay line will degenerate and disappear like a normal delay line. If I lock this, that figure will repeat until the power is shut down. So we've just covered a massive amount of things in about 2 seconds, and we're going to go even further. I have further control over the Lexicon PCM42 delay line. That includes one, its send. These are voltage pedals on my left here. They all control the Lexicon PCM42. That's what they do. This first one controls the send amount from the 42 to the 70, like this. Not MIDI, just a voltage control pedal. As I press down, it'll feed more and more signal into this Lexicon PCM70. As I back off, it's gone. Okay, let's leave it on for a few minutes, even though the sound is mildly irritating. This pedal is another voltage control pedal for the PCM42 that will, in fact, control the amount of regeneration when the loop length is not locked down, but is still in degenerating mode. So if I open the loop, thusly, by pressing the infinite guy off, if I back this pedal all the way off, the loop will be gone forever, which I'm going to show you right now. It's backed off, and within 3 seconds, it'll be gone. Okay, let's get another loop going. Just pretty much similar thing with little A's. I press that pedal down, and anything that was in memory of the delay line of the PCM42 when that was pressed down will stay there. Let me enter some more notes. Now, without locking that in, this will now degenerate eventually. Pedal is all the way down. I'll lock it in. One more powerful control on my delay line is another voltage control for the PCM42, which allows me to change the length. I think, let's listen to this dry, on the dry PCM42 channel. No reverb. Now I can, via this voltage control pedal, I can change the length of the delay time, which is going to change not only its length, but its pitch. And you'll hear what this sounds like. Which is going to have a very different effect musically, as the quality of the guitar sound has changed now drastically and mutated into something else. I'm going to feed it back to the reverb, and we get an idea what it sounds like. It almost gives a kind of a backward sound in this case, and also has lowered the pitch ridiculously. More of this. Okay, back to the dry loop, which is now transposed. I'll put it back to its original pitch, which you'll see is 3,207 milliseconds, which is actually 3.2 seconds or so. Now, if I exactly double the delay time, the sound will go down exactly 1 octave. You'll see it's now exactly double. And if I wanted to, could add some more notes into it. Some funny notes like now, what happens if I bring this back up? The notes that I just entered will come back an octave high, higher than I entered them. dread Mickey Mouse effect. Now I feed that to maybe I'll take the pitch down a little bit. Maybe I don't like the processing that I did on it, so I'll change something on the reverb that it was being sent to. I'll change it to a chorusing type program. We'll see what, with some echoes, and see what this sounds like, just to see. Okay, and that would sound like. Still don't really quite like it, so I'll put it into a sort of a backwards simulating program. See what that sounds like. Again, I'm controlling the send of the 42, its amount to the 70 via this voltage control pedal attached to this looping delay line. Kind of like that, but just so we can get into something a little different here, I'm going to find another looping program that's actually on the reverb itself. The first thing I'll do to the reverb, before we hear that loop again, make sure that the high end roll-off of the reverb is quite extreme. I don't really see the necessity of hearing the extreme high end of the reverb. It seems to make it sound very unnaturally bright. So this is what the loop sounds like. That's the loop through this reverb, which at the moment is, let's see, 5 seconds of reverb. Okay. I'm going to turn the reverb time successively up from 5 seconds to infinite, so it'll lock in place. Now that sound is the reverb looping on its own. If I open it up with this knob here, from infinite to 29 seconds, it'll slowly decay. I'll feed it some more. Okay, now I've got the loop in the reverb. The reverb itself is looping its own delays, but I've still got the original loop, which sounds like this. I'll bring it up on its own channel. I'll bring the reverb back up. So now we have a texture that you could use for quite a few things. As the backdrop to another composition, as something to solo over. It's got a certain rhythm to it. It's got a clear harmonic flow to it. In other words, a harmony has been built from the notes within that original loop. And in fact, now that I've got that loop in there, and we have the original sounds like this. I think we can change that loop now. Lowered it an octave. I'll bring the reverb loop back in. Just changing the volumes here, getting them into a place of balance that I can relate to. Now, just because I finished this particular loop doesn't mean that it's actually finished. As long as the power is still running, the loops, both of them, are still there, and I could still add notes, change them. We could listen to the original loop for a second, maybe by itself. We could add some notes into this. Now we've got this kind of backwards in Baghdad sound. Bring the other loop back in. Got quite a little texture going on there. Now I could still let a little of this new loop into the old high one, the old high reverb loop. I think I'll do that. Here we go. So now the reverb loop now is filled with some of the new dry loop, the dry loop sounding like this, just like this. And the reverb loop sounds like this. Okay, and that covers one aspect of looping, I think, fairly thoroughly. Let me clear that loop out and change back to a usable delay time, like I'm pressing on the 42, getting it to a 9-second delay time, something that I'm going to use. Before we do any more on looping, you see what some of the possibilities are. While I think I told you that the PCM42 is something that's no longer available, there are plenty of long delay lines, including a new box from Lexicon called the Jamman, which I haven't quite learned how to use yet, that has up to 32 seconds of delay and looping time and sampling time, and has some very interesting features like the ability to clock to MIDI and be absolutely dead in time, these loops. It's a very affordable device, and in fact much more affordable than the PCM42 that I'm used to using. Before we go any further with this looping, there is one more thing that I use in my processing rack, which is this Digitech IPS-33B. I use it for, I think I'll let you hear it now. We're not going to listen to any dry guitar signal at all from the main amp, just the stereo effects from the outside amp. Whoops. Forgot to clear the reverb loop, which is now cleared. Okay. All the delay lines are off, and I am going to the PCM70, and I'm going to load a kind of nice big, like an echo, chorus echo program. Just have that in there. We're not going to listen to it. We are going to listen to this Digitech. Make sure that the signal goes there. It doesn't seem to be coming back very well, so it's because it's turned off. Now this is a unit that also is delay based. This particular program is delaying at the moment and flanging. Like a lot of units of its nature, you can just change the programs and no dry signal. This is just the you can see a lot of possibilities for textures in a delay-based unit that has, this also has pitch changing in it. So let me get to a pitch change program. Here's it's a little Mickey Mouse sounding, but if I take a sound like that, and if I send it to the PCM70 in a very nice, beautiful, lush reverb program, and don't listen to any of the dry effect of the dry harmonized signal, we'll now only listen to the processed version of the processed signal. Okay, so this is a fairly dense and convoluted path here, but the guitar signal is, which we're not listening to dry in any way whatsoever, is feeding the Digitech, which is harmonizing, delaying, and providing some kinds of pitch modulation, minor pitch or volume modulation in stereo. We're not listening to that output. That is feeding directly the PCM70, and that is what we're going to hear when I play this A minor 9 chord. So we're only listening to slightly shorter reverb. Harmonics with a volume pedal. Harmonics with the volume pedal and the whammy bar. Okay, maybe a little fuzz. Real dark sounding with the neck pickup. See what that sounds like. Real low note just for some noise effect. Okay, so getting back to the clean sound, you're getting a picture of what this does. I got some other funny little, let's listen to the output of the Digitech harmonizer delay line again on its own without the reverb. Let's change the program and okay, so this one should be like, I'll play one note, an A. It's going up in fifths. Now if I use my volume pedal, and maybe a little bit of reverb on that, Let's see what that sounds like. Take some of the dry effect Digitech signal out, leaving the reverb. Maybe I'll lengthen the reverb just a little bit. And I'll play, I think I'll play like an E minor, E pentatonic minor scale. Maybe if you mix just a little bit of the dry signal going into the same reverb effect, let's see what happens. I think there might be some useful stuff in there. Okay. And that's basically another way to use another type of delay line, harmonizer delay line. I tend to use the harmonizer behind, especially if I'm going way up like that, up the upper octave. Mickey Mouse Land, I tend to not listen to its dry signal at all, but only feed it to a reverb so that I get a sound with my dry signal on like this. It's like a tail at the end that makes the reverb sound as if the reverb itself was an octave up. Because you clearly hear the guitar sound first. And that stuff comes later. And there's the tail. So let's go back to looping one last time here before we close this subject out. Once again, I'm going to enter a loop. We'll enter a loop in G minor, and we'll try to do some funky kind of blues-like lick rhythmically into the PCM42. I will turn up PCM42's dry channel so I can hear it quite clearly. And we've got like a 20-second delay going here. Now, with this particular unit, as I said before, Lexicon's Jam Man, which I haven't quite thoroughly learned yet, you can easily tap in your tempos. With the PCM42, it's a little more complex. You see a little blinking light there, and I'm going to try to play in time with it. And we'll start with like a little, just a little lick. I'm improvising, so bear with it. Levels are up. The reverb is rather short, so it'll be clear. And the guitar sound is on, and here we go. Mutation. So that was a loop that started out rhythmically with basic riff in G minor. I got frustrated by the loop's inability to really sit in rhythm, so I decided to put some fuzz things in it. It started out in G minor in very basic G minor 9 kinds of voices above it, and then kind of mutated into both B flat Lydian, B flat major 7, sharp 11 that means, and kind of an F tonality. I ended up taking the loop and feeding it through this harmonizer, which is what we heard at the end, and then I raised the pitch of the loop to way up here. Oh, it's gone now. No, it's still there. I slowly raised the pitch of the loop. As I turned the loop off, and that was that little mutation piece. Now, one of the things that you probably might have noticed by now when I'm doing these improvised looping performances is that, well, let me go backwards a second. One thing is that I am, in fact, improvising. I'm not really clear what I'm going to do until I'm starting to go. And this is one of my major focuses in playing with electronics, is that they seem to take on a more human quality when you're actually using them in a way that is not pre-programmed. I am, in fact, changing my sends, my returns, where each device is being processed while we're flying here. So that's one point. So you must have noticed that you see me moving the faders on the mixer and the sends and all the returns, etc. That's one thing. Another thing is that there are certain things depending on the loop length that seem to, in harmonic terms, work better than others. When you're working with very short delay times, and let's go to a 3-second delay time here, you're not going to get much chance to have a lot of harmonic motion. It's just it's probably not going to occur because you've got this much delay time. And let's hear what this sounds like. Make sure we got everything going on here. Here's the delay line feeding a reverb, very short one or medium one. There's the delay. There's not a lot of time to build some kind of some chordal movement in there, maybe. Oh, there's a strange one. A major triad, D major triad, C sharp major triad. Certain things work better than others. The volume pedal works incredibly well at smoothing the loop length, the repeat point in the loop length. If this is 3 seconds, and this is the next 3 seconds here, the volume pedal tends to really nicely mask that little bump there you can have one. Now I played the note for more than 3 seconds, so it's extremely smooth. Now if I double it with a little vibrato, it becomes very rich. Now I just shift the pitch around slightly, shifty character that I am. For me, this is a great way to get a kind of a reflection of the harmonies that I enjoy. Look what I went for. I tried to start doing this loop as a straight major chord, and I ended up with a sharp 11 and a flat 7. So it's got this completely kind of either Arabic or nearly somewhere between an Arabic scale and North India. I'll add that in. Get a nice indicator for what your harmonic sensibility is. With shorter delay times, you tend to be locked into smaller atmospheres, or obviously smaller colors. There's just not as much time to work with. With the longer delay times, like 20 seconds or 32 seconds, like you get on the Jam Man, you can do full. You can pretty much do full chordal. You can do whole chord progressions, and if you expand the memory even further in a PCM42, of course, you could do an entire Beatles song, and you could get like 3 minutes worth of delay time and do a 3-minute song, Beatles song, or whatever. This is like some chord changes I'll just throw in here. Hear it repeat. This is a piece that Mark and Isham and I did together live for some time. So you see, in a longer delay time, you have much more time to build something. I'll extend the reverb time so that the pause this would be a good one for me to play over. Nice smooth vocal fuzz sound, could be a really pretty piece of music. So the last section that we'll do on looping is on modulated looping. You can see, I think, on my PCM42 that I have here, there is an oscillator. And the oscillator is set to a square wave, which means one position, next position, no in-betweens. I have it set up to move. You can see the speed at which it's moving. It's controllable here. And I have it set up to jump, basically, octaves, double the delay time. So that sounds like this. I will treble pickup, full tilt all the way on. I will enter an A into the loop. And you'll hear it. Okay, what I need to do is play, actually, I need to play a phrase. I will play G, A, B. This is what it sounds like. Now, all I did was play G, A, B, and it's jumping the octave at a speed that I will preset. Very fast to very slow. I'll enter some more notes. I'll speed that oscillator up a bit. Slow it down. So you see I can get very far away from the normal guitar texture. Now if I process that loop, of course, it's going to sound different yet again. I'll send it to, like an extreme chorusing program. And we won't listen to the dry loop at all. Now, as you've seen, and I hope you realize, I haven't planned this out. I'm just trying to give you the concepts of things that you can do all the way around in this particular case with looping, things that can actually happen on the fly, on stage, in the studio. It seems as if sonic variety can be kind of a wellspring of inspiration. When you know that you can go to a place and get a sound in a kind of random way that you've never got before, it offers you inspiration to keep moving and finding new things. So I just wanted to show these things. This is the last looping sound that you'll hear for now. I know it doesn't sound like a guitar, but it is, and it feels better than a synthesizer. So, still a few interesting things yet to cover. This is Mini. Welcome to Mini, my Ithaca Guitar Works acoustic guitar, meant to be played electrically, no hole. One of the things that you can still experiment with is actually taking an acoustic guitar, slapping a pickup on it, and like this, which has a pickup in the bridge, or Rick Turner and Bob Wallstein, I guess it's called the Highlander pickup in the bridge. It's also got a microphone inside for going direct to a board, which sounds quite good. And one of the things I like to do is to take an acoustic guitar and process it just like an electric. So, same volume pedal. So I can go from and I could even loop it if I wanted to. All from an acoustic guitar. So many things yet to cover. Another thing we haven't really touched on yet is the ability to retune your instrument, which changes the character pretty drastically. Now, I'm improvising again, so bear with me, but I'm just going to detune this to something. Okay, here's a tuning I've never tuned to before. I'm sure something interesting can happen from it. sure you can come up with something just by just the sheer experiment of it, just finding some tuning. See what I mean? And let's take this just one step further. Now, this is a little bridge that Glenn Scholes of Burlington, Vermont made for me from ebony and some mother of pearl. And it's yet another one of the little things that I do to keep myself interested. I'll play this instrument for you in a second. The instrument, the guitar, is like, what is it? It's built in the heart of Bavaria, it says inside. And what is it? I don't even know. I can't read what it says. Oh, it's a Framus, or whatever, that Jeff Gordon gave to me some years ago. I'm going to turn it around now. I do this to many guitars with many different bridges. Again, something that was inspired by a sound, although I know that people like Fred Frith and Henry Kaiser, Derek Bailey have done things with alternate bridges. I've done really simple things. I've got this tuned. There's no pickup on this guy today, so it's tuned to a pentatonic minor. 1, 3, 4, 5, 7, 1. And on the other side, it's exactly the same, because the bridge is parallel, a fifth higher. A lot of different things you can do with guitars. I feel like now make a happy stroke. And among other things, I suppose that you could also I don't know if you can hear this. Which you could also do to any other guitar. Any guitar at all. Just some more ideas. Some little things you can explore. By the way, the first bridge that I made like this, I made out of the backside of a kitchen utensil. Glenn was just nice enough to make me one that would last a little bit longer than the one that was actually stolen from me. So, there you have it. Another step you can take. After all this time, I hope you've enjoyed yourself. I hope you've been inspired to find some new things for yourself on your instrument. The guitar is really still a pretty limitless vista, and keep on rocking. See ya.
Wow.